Hey, what's up, everybody? Obviously, CG here with CG Reviews. You know what? Funny thing is, for me anyway, when it comes to these type of, podcasting and things like that, I absolutely love doing podcasts, and I absolutely love sort of just being able to, have fun with it and things like that. And I haven't really found a ton of podcasts that actually do compelling things like on my as many of you guys may or may not know, when I actually commute to work and back and stuff like that, I drive around 3 hours a day total, which leaves me a lot of time, and a lot of times I listen to podcasts and stuff like that. The problem is, for me personally, I don't really like a lot of podcasts. Most of them are just kind of not fun, or they don't really know what they're talking about, and I think that's probably a big reason why I kind of keep to myself on these things. If you are just joining me, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to get into some of this stuff as well. If you guys, sorry I took so long to get in here, but yeah, share it out. I would really appreciate that. It does mean a lot to me that you guys are here and all that kind of good stuff. You guys are pretty kick-ass. So, for me personally, when you hear that Microsoft might have a power disadvantage with the next Xbox, and they're also talking about things like, hey, we might want to port our biggest exclusive over to our biggest competitor. Those things don't exactly thrill me with confidence, especially given that some of the things that they've done kind of prove that they don't particularly care about exclusives. And I get that exclusives aren't everything, because I like multiplats too. I just think that it's one of those things that kind of annoys me. But someone sent this to me. What's up? What's up, everybody in the chat? Hey guys, thank you guys so much for coming out here. But anyway, someone kind of passed along this Colin Moriarty podcast to me, right? Sacred Symbols, right? It's a PlayStation centered podcast, right? And I thought, hey, that's cool, PlayStation centric. I don't particularly care. It's all good. But with that being said, I listened to it, this particular one, and he's going over what he thought about Microsoft's E3. And to my surprise, he actually kind of liked Microsoft's E3. He wasn't like super impressed with it, but he liked it. And you guys might know him. He used to be with Kind of Funny Games, and then kind of got unceremoniously ousted there. But he was also at IGN before as well. And you know what? For me personally, it's one of those situations where I just found it compelling. I was listening to this guy, and it was really, really cool. He was like talking about different things, and he had talked about the Andrew Reiner tweet about how he heard that the PS5 was more powerful than the Xbox Scarlett, and that he actually heard the same thing. So I was like, hey, that's pretty interesting. Now it's starting to pile up. We're starting to hear, from a few more people that is indeed the case. But what really surprised me was he went on to say that he basically had heard that Microsoft really did shop the Halo Master Chief Collection to Sony and the PS4. Now, it sounds a little bit like the past tense when you listen to it, like they had done this, and, maybe that ship has sailed. I think that if Microsoft was going to do that, probably Sony would say no. And the reason being is Microsoft would want some kind of Xbox Live integration there, and Sony wouldn't be okay with that. So, it's just one of those things where we have to kind of just, I guess, or, be flying on the walls. But to his credit, Frank O'Connor from 343 Industries actually said he's not aware of details of conversations between the platforms at a corporate level, but the distance between plans and some what if, for instance, conversation is a meaningful gulf. He said, we've had plenty of those over the years, but not one line of code was ever glanced at. So seemingly almost confirms that, yes, there was probably some talks there over the years of bringing Halo to PlayStation, especially I would assume that it was more or less this generation where that happened, because if you look at what happened to Xbox early on, the platform wasn't doing very well. There were talks that Microsoft was going to, sell off the Xbox division and things like that. And, let's just face it, they stopped designing games for a particular amount of time, right? Like they stopped making AAA games. So we have to just kind of come to the conclusion that they actually possibly did think about doing some third-party stuff. Hey, if you guys are just joining me, please like and share it out. I would definitely appreciate that very, very much. I got quite a few things that I want to talk about today, and, I'll answer questions and stuff like that, because that's always fun. But I just found that to be sort of interesting to hear that coming from him, as he's like pretty much known for what he does. And I think that that's just one of those things that I found to be very, very funny and very interesting, because a lot of people go, well, crap, if Sony were to get Xbox games or Halo or whatever, you know what? I bet it would just be xCloud or something along those lines, right? Well, people have a kind of a distinction between that. What I mean is they seem to be okay with it if it's xCloud, right? It's not natively played on that console. But what if Microsoft were the ones to actually, publish the game on that platform? I think that might be a little bit of a different story. I think people would then start to see, hey, something's up, something, because I feel like exclusive, they still matter. They still push platforms. They still kind of differentiate these platforms and what they mean. And if you don't believe me, then just look at the platforms that are on top right now. It's like the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4. Now it is a little bit of a slower time for the PlayStation 4, but the last few years have been incredibly kind to that platform. And to see, people go out and buy it, like especially on the holidays, and they see deals for like Spider-Man and God of War, and of course they're gonna have Death Stranding out this year, and they already had Days Gone. And I think that's pretty relevant to the fact that, hey, this thing's selling like crazy because it has some great exclusives. The Switch is the same way. And the fact that the Switch is selling so well has also opened up to them some major third parties as well to invest into that platform, which I think is cool. You know what I mean? Like, everybody should get a piece of the pie. But Microsoft, they do have a bunch of studios right now. I try to be as optimistic as I possibly can about those. You know what I mean? Even though when you look at them, it does look like some of them are very much double A in quality. And Microsoft isn't going to dictate, exactly what those studios do. Meaning, the studios are still going to be able to do their independent things, what they want to do, right? It's not up to Microsoft to kind of decide, hey, you're going to be doing this or this or this. And I think that's a good and a bad thing. Like, I do think that maybe it'd be okay for Microsoft to go, hey, what do you think about doing this? Or do you want to work on one of these old IPs that we have? Like, I think that would be kind of cool for Microsoft to do. Hold on. We got JD Gamer says, I think that Microsoft is sandbagging. I think that they have only one #1 dev kit out, and it will be updated before launch, much like PS4 doubled its RAM at the last minute, and they overclocked the X1 CPU. So you bring up a good point, JD Gamer. So basically, Microsoft thought they had the PS4 beat in power this generation, right? They thought Sony was only going to go with 4 gigs of RAM. Last minute, Sony doubled that when the price went down, and Microsoft ended up getting beat pretty handedly. This gen, we don't know what's going on. We were told by quote unquote insiders that there was going to be multiple consoles, a Lockhart, Anaconda. Now it just looks like there's the Scarlett, right? And it looks like they're gonna, and it might even be named an Xbox One something. That baffles me, right? And if you guys are just joining me, please hit the like and share, subscribe button, all that kind of good stuff. Why would it be an Xbox One? If you listen to what Matt Booty says, he says, well, PCs do this. You put in a disc or whatever, you have a certain game and it realizes what it is, and then it scales to that. So something tells me in the back of my mind that these new console generation from Xbox, the Scarlett, is going to be an Xbox One something or other. Could be. I'm not like discounting that. And you're going to buy an Xbox One disc for Halo Infinite and put it in your Scarlett, and it's just going to play better and have these different things on there. So I think that's actually going to be something that happens. I'm not sure I really love that idea. Hotman966 says, here's what people don't understand. Microsoft is a service-based company, meaning they depend other companies' innovations. Well, I think that here's the thing, though. You have to realize that for Microsoft, you have to be able to go out there and, keep, sort of keep the faith there. You have to be able to keep your people happy, right? And I do think that overall, I think some people are happy, but I don't think that the overall hardcore is as happy as they possibly could be, meaning that I really feel like the hardcore are a little bit less disappointed and let down by what Microsoft has done game-wise, not actual hardware and things like that. I think Microsoft has really gone out of their way and done a fantastic job. I think that's something that it's one of the things that they've done a really good job with is the hardware. I love the Elite controller. The Elite 2 looks absolutely stunning. Games are playing great. It looks like we're going to get that Jedi Fallen Order game at 60 frames. They're really focusing on it. Game Pass, They sold me on Game Pass finally, guys. I know a lot of you are like, oh crap, are you finally in on Game Pass? Yeah, I finally am in on Game Pass. Reason being, right? Pretty simple why I'm in on Game Pass. Basically put, Microsoft puts out a lot of games. I like to review games and just try games out. I'll be honest with you. Like if it's a bad game, I'm not going to play that game all the way through. But a lot of times I'll waste 40 or 60 bucks on it anyway, right? This is saving me money. I'm getting married, all this kind of stuff. I don't want to waste 60 bucks on a bad game anymore. Game Pass will mean, hey, I can try some of these mediocre games. Maybe they're going to be good, and then I can still buy it if I want, or at the very least, I can play it for a couple hours and decide it's not for me. So I think that's good. They're going to put stuff like Battletoads in there. Hey, it's going to save me a little bit of money. I can probably, get through that pretty quick. So it does have value. I think what they're doing there is very valuable. I like what they're doing with that. Looking back on their conference, I think I originally gave it a 5 out of 10. I went back and rewatched it with the sound on and everything. I give it a 6 out of 10 after rewatching it. The reason why you might go, oh crap, why'd you change your score? It's not a huge change. I just feel like they had a very average show. It wasn't great, but it wasn't like super terrible where it was, where it was unbearable. It wasn't like some of those like late 2010s where they had Connect and Hey Skittles and, people on stage playing Connect and Usher on stage singing and, that really cheesy stuff, right? Like they didn't do any of that. I can understand why people like the conference. For me personally, it all comes down to those AAA bangers, though. Without those, I feel like 4 years is too long between those, and they haven't announced anything new in 4 years of new AAA IP. So I'm going to keep harping on that a little bit. But at the same time, some people seem really happy with what they have. If you like Bleeding Edge and that's your type of game, I think that's fantastic. Doesn't seem to be my type of game. I just feel like there's other genres that they could actually utilize a little bit more. I get that this game was in development well before Microsoft bought them out, but I also feel like it's one of those games that they didn't make on purpose. I'm talking about Ninja Theory because they knew it probably wouldn't sell well, and you don't bet your farm on a game that's super, super niche and probably won't sell very well. But Microsoft giving them the backing is like, hey, do what you want to do. So I do get that a little bit. Just for me personally, not my cup of tea, not something that I'm really super interested in. And I know some people liked it at E3, and I hope that it does do good, right? I hope that it does good. I would love to see, their first game be a hit right out of the gate. But for me personally, not my cup of tea. If you guys are just joining me, like, share, and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. JD Gamer says, I don't think we'll be having a discussion about great exclusive games from Microsoft 1, 2, and 3 years from now as their AAA studios create new games. Well, here's the thing. Oh, hold on. Javier says, makeup. You don't know what you're talking about, Crapgamer. Well, I know, depends on what you're talking about, right? Like which part of don't I know what I'm talking about? Right? I would love to know. Like, I don't mind talking to you guys into the Bleeding Edge won an E3 award. Whoop-de-doo. There's a lot of games, winning an E3 award when Sony's not there and Activision was, you know what I'm saying? It was a light E3 this year. So, JD Gamer, I do think that what we're going to see from Microsoft is some decent games. I do think that we need that pillar or another couple of pillars. Because if you look at the studios they have, what studios do they have that aren't IP factory? So Coalition is an IP factory for Gears, 343 for Halo, Turn 10 for Forza, Playground Games is making Forza Horizon and probably Fable. So what studios do they have left that aren't like an IP factory that can make something that we can actually play as a console exclusive in the next, 2 to 3 years? And that's the part where you start to look and you start to come up with nothing. There's not a whole lot there. So, hey, man, I'm not saying that Bleeding Edge can't be fun. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying what it is that Bleeding Edge is a 4v4 brawler and there's no single player to it. And I was looking for something. I'm personally, and I know a lot of other people are looking for something with a little more single player element to it, something a little bit in that vein. I think that game could be fun. It could be really solidly put, but I just think that Microsoft probably needed a little something there. Jet Fan says, crap, what do you think about Sony's Remedy rumored acquisition? I think that I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but I do think that it makes sense. They make story-driven games. Sony makes story-driven games. Remedy is out of favor with Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't care about Remedy. The Don says Sony's dev kit is much closer to a final product. Well, I read that on air, Don. I'm not sure if you wanted me to say that or anything, but the Don, I had suggested from what I had heard, and I know just to make it clear that the Don never tells me anything in terms of NDA stuff or anything like that, but there are a couple people that I'm friends with that talked to me a little bit. I had heard that Microsoft was going to do heavy marketing for the next Xbox, and it would release November 20th, 2020, because it had something to do with 2020, right? Like some kind of marketing thing or whatever. So whether or not Sony releases after that or not, I think Sony releases their box a little bit before. Just my opinion. JD Gamer says, when I talk about their new AAA studios, I'm talking about Obsidian's A-Team, Playground, Ninja Theory, and even Double Fine is making great platformers. Well, here's the thing. Double Fine was such a weird thing for me because they had been working with Sony a lot lately, right? And they haven't made a AAA game, in my opinion, since what was it, Brutal Legend, and which was in I think 2010, so maybe 2009. So that's 10 years. Obsidian's A-Team is working on Outer Worlds, and if Outer Worlds does really good, then they're already contracted to make Outer Worlds 2, which they've already said would be a multi-plat as well. So I get not everybody's hype on the exclusives. They're like, well, what's it matter? Crap, you can still play the game and you can play it in Game Pass. I think that's cool, but it's not selling me on an Xbox, right? I think Xbox is always going to be fine, and I think Xbox did enough to skate by this E3, but I was just hoping to see one new AAA IP in a Fable, right? I don't think like people want to get mad at me or whatever. I don't think it's asking too much to, to ask for, right? I don't think so. Yeah, the Don says he doesn't know about the 2020 thing, but yeah, I'm just saying what I had heard. So, West Webb says, "Crap, when are you gonna going to join PlayStation fanboy like NBA?" Hey, man, I'm not a PlayStation fanboy. I'm a gamer, and I'm excited about games. I can still be hyped. I love the Elite 2 controller. I would love to hear more about what Scarlett's going to be. PlayStation 5 interests me a lot, mainly because of the VR aspect, and also because PlayStation has great exclusives. Let's see. Oh, on your kill list says Sony won't release first. They have no need to. They're dominating. Xbox need to. Yeah, but I think that Sony's going to they're both going to release in November, I believe. Snake says, "Crap, do you think that you'll like CP 2077? It'll be a lot like Witcher 3, but different setting. Witcher 3 was overwhelming to a lot of people, and CP will be the same." Here's the thing. I like The Witcher 3, but it did seem a little overwhelming with the amount of stuff that you had to do. I think I like the setting of Cyberpunk a little bit better, right? I like I like that idea. It seems like it'll hold my interest a little bit more than Witcher 3. I think Witcher 3 was great, but I did get bored with it, and some of the side quests and the the music. It just, I don't know, it doesn't catch me. While Cyberpunk, has that kind of look and that aliveness to it that really interests me and completely different. I think it's also first person, so I think that's going to hold me much more and hold my interest much more. Let's see. He says, Jaded, he says, although we judge for yourself, some people are saying the Avengers Behind Closed Doors demo was mediocre. Others loved it. Yeah, you know what? I can only give my own opinion. So, that's all I can say. If you guys are just joining me, please like and share out. Hotman says, you are right. Microsoft is hurting its fan base by making an Overwatch wannabe game. Xbox fans wanted something original, like the first Halo and Gears. And I'm sure that there will be something original. There will be something original eventually from Ninja Theory, right? So that's not their only team. They've got multiple teams. Regardless of, what we see from these teams in the future, whatever, I do feel like Ninja Theory will produce something in the future. This is something they wanted to do. Ninja Theory is known for like single player games mostly. So the fact that they went out of their way and sort of made something out of their comfort zone, I think that's pretty cool and pretty telling. And it does lead you to believe that Microsoft was honest. Microsoft said, hey, you guys can do what you want and we'll fund it. And this does prove that. So maybe their next game or the other one that they're working on is some kind of amazing hacking / AAA game, and it's going to be brilliant, right? I just wonder when we're going to see that. Is it going to be anytime relatively soon, 3 years from now, 2 years from now? Like, when we've already waited so long, I think it's almost kind of unfair to have them expect us to wait any longer. And that has always been kind of my point. Hopefully they actually get out there and do something with it. Just one of those things that I personally, you know, how I personally feel about it. But I do hope that we do see eventually, uh, some great games from these. So the initiative is one that really has my interest for the simple fact that they've got so many talented people from across all these different games and all these different genres. And I'm just very interested to see what they can come up with. You got people who have worked on some of the biggest games in the world now working for Microsoft. But at the same time, we've also heard conflicting reports from that this studio is working on a couple of smaller things, right? So I would hopefully assume that they're going to work on something big. And I tend to think that they're actually working on something AAA and maybe something, and then something else that's also smaller. So I would hope that that's the way it's going to be. And I also think that Fable is going to be great. I think that's in good hands. And I also think that what Microsoft is talking about in terms of their new studios, I like the fact that they're so kind of open with some of the stuff, but I just feel like, maybe they're not as open with, with the games as they are the actual hardware and stuff like that. So, oh wow, it looks like my stream is lagging a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. It's YouTube. It's not anything I can do about it. I think my stream is fine. Jet Fan says, "Hey, Crap, do you think whoever takes over the mantle of Phil Spencer has to go back to Xbox console, having exclusive games and Xbox Play Anywhere is dropped?" Well, here's the thing. I don't think that I don't think that they can go back on that stuff right now, right? I don't think that you can go back on that stuff. You've already been doing Play Anywhere and this kind of stuff for a little while now. You have to continue on with that. You have to really go out there and continue to support that and stuff like that. So for me personally, I really do feel like Microsoft maybe they can rebound a little bit as long as they come out with some great games, right? The problem that Microsoft is going to face going forward is, even though they're going to continue to make money, right? Let's just be real. Game Pass is going to print money. They've got their hands in, Havoc Engine, Azure, even Sony's paying for Azure. Lots of other third-party developers pay for Azure as well. Ubisoft uses Azure. There's a lot of companies that actually use Azure, and Microsoft makes money off of all that, right? And so it makes sense that they're going to try to keep their hands in as many pies as possible and make as much money as possible. And that's exactly what they're going to continue to do. Will that lead to them publishing games on other platforms? I don't really know. But look at stuff like Cuphead, right? Smaller stuff. That's gone to the Switch. Now another one, Super Lucky's Tale. I know those might not seem like huge deals to people, but those games have all, that game has gone to the Nintendo Switch as well. They just announced that. So I do think that the smaller games are something that makes sense on the Switch. I don't really have a problem with that. Those came out so long ago. But I think the pillars of Xbox should remain Xbox. The Halos, the Gears, the Forzas, that kind of stuff. I think those pillars anyway don't make sense to ever see those on a PlayStation console or a Nintendo console while Microsoft's still making a console. I don't think that should happen, and hopefully it doesn't. West Web, hey dude, I reached out to MBG, all right? Now here's the funny thing, right? I didn't know who this guy was, but when I went to message him on Twitter, apparently I had DM'd him a couple of years ago and asked him to be on BGST. Turns out he doesn't do podcasts or collaborations with anybody. So he even told me that back then, and I had forgot that I even talked to him because it was years ago. So yeah, I reached out. Just looks like it's not something that we're going to be able to make happen. He doesn't want to do collaborations or anything like that. But if you guys do get the idea for, new and upcoming podcasters or whatever, I'm always looking for the next podcaster to stab me in the back after I've helped them out. So yeah, we can hit the like button, guys. Simon Brayek says, it sounds like you might be happier with Sony. It sounds like Xbox is traveling a different path to you. Sometimes you just drift apart. Well, here's the thing, right? I get it. Xbox was, to me, I still prefer the ecosystem and the controller and Xbox Live and that kind of stuff. So don't get it twisted there. I absolutely love the Xbox ecosystem. Like I said, Xbox Live is great. I think that some of the games like Halo and Gears and Forza, I love those games so much, but Microsoft has just relied on those games to the point where you just want to play something new as well. Okay. Like I'm trying to play games lately and I'm having a hard time finding anything. Even the multiplats, right, are just feel like the same old, and aren't exactly as fresh as I'd hope. Like, you're playing the Division 2 and it plays like the Division 1, it's like 1.5. So it's just not really something that, it's something that I'm dealing with personally because uh, you know, because everything just feels so much the same, right? And then I go over and I play some Sony stuff or I play some VR, and that's realistically where I'm having the most fun right now. That doesn't mean that I hate Xbox or I'm a flip flop. I've always played all the platforms. I'm just having a lot more fun, and there's a little bit more originality with the PlayStation brand right now. Sorry, I had to take a drink right there. And I think that's fine because I think Microsoft is going to do some good things still, and I think they have the chance. But like I said, Microsoft is not known, sadly, for their games being quality, and outside of Halo, Gears, and Forza, and that's been a big problem, right? You have to be able to have games that are super quality, and people just don't look at Microsoft as having quality games, except for like the Halo, Gears, and Forza. And I think that's why we all took kind of exception when we start hearing rumors that these games might be going to like PlayStation or Nintendo or whatever. It doesn't, some people are okay and they're like, oh, wait, great, more people or whatever. Me, I'm just like, that's less of a reason to play Xbox. Like, I know I'm one of those weird people that looks at it like, well, if I'm playing, Xbox, I like to play console versus console. I don't, crossplay doesn't really interest me. And I know I might be kind of in the minority when I say that, but crossplay doesn't interest me. And I mostly just want to play console to console, the console that I'm playing on versus somebody else on an Xbox. And that's the way just I feel about it. I know some other people do as well. Maybe some people don't mind crossplay or they don't mind doing that. But for me personally, I'm not a fan of the whole crossplay thing. Dark Carnage says PSN servers went down and some dudes were pretty mad. Dude, I understand it, right? I understand it. I think that we live in this day and age. Imagine if Stadia servers go down or somebody does something to those, right? Because we had the problems with Xbox and that kind of stuff. So imagine xCloud servers go down because the Xbox Live does go down sometimes, right? This is why it's good to have multiple options. That's why I like the hybrid option where we can still game on our console and then do remote play and stuff like that. I think remote play is cooler to me anyway than the whole xCloud thing. JD Gamer says, prediction, what future games pillars do you think we'll get from Ninja Theory, The Initiative, Playground, Obsidian, and Double Fine? This is a really great thing. Really great question, JD Gamer. Thank you. I actually think that Ninja Theory is working on a single player hack and slash game, maybe light RPG, action RPG for Microsoft. The Initiative, I think they're working on two games, something big and something smaller. I think they're working on a new AAA IP, and they might be working on an existing IP. I've heard rumors of possibly making a sequel to the smaller thing is they're kind of working on a sequel to Quantum Break. That was one rumor that I heard. I've also heard that maybe they were helping with the Perfect Dark reboot. So there's that. Playground Games is working on Fable, the open world action RPG. It's supposedly going to be like a soft reboot. Obsidian is working on The Outer Worlds. And I think if that does really well, they might do Outer Worlds 2. So, it's really difficult to say and what exactly we're going to get. But Double Fine, they're working on Psychonauts 2. Now, the interesting thing about Psychonauts 2 is the fact that this was a game that was going to be published by a publisher, and Microsoft bought the publishing rights away for almost $13 million. So Microsoft owns the publishing rights and the IP, and yet they're still deciding to publish this on PS4. Now, this is the thing that kind of irks me sometimes. You need exclusive content. You could have easily had this be exclusive. Now, one of the reasons why I was talking about the Colin Moriarty podcast, which you guys might know him, he used to work at IGN. He did Kind of Funny Games. He has such a really good take. He was the one saying, He's a big fan of, would have been a big fan of Microsoft pulling Minecraft off of the PlayStation, right? He goes, hundreds of millions of people play this game. And, you know, if you have it just on your platform and PC, then console gamers will buy your console. It's that easy. It sells consoles, right? Because this Minecraft Dungeons game is going to be on Switch and PS4 as well, which makes no sense. Psychonauts on PS4 as well. That makes no sense to me since Microsoft bought the IP. Wasteland 3 as well. That's on PS4. So all these games from these studios that Microsoft just bought are coming out on PS4 as well. And it really kind of devalues what we're going to do. And when are we going to see something else from them? That's always been my point. But I do think that sometime in the next 2 years, we will see something something incredible from some of these studios anyway. Jet Fan says, hey, Crap, do you think Microsoft could potentially buy EA and put them on PS5 similar to what they did with Minecraft to also remove EA access as a competitor to Game Pass? No, I don't think if they were to buy EA or Activision or something, they would 100% keep those games as multi-platform. That makes the most sense. Microsoft could get away with it because the fans would never call them out, or at least the vocal minority might, and people would just ignore them. You know what I mean? See, it's easy to ignore or just kind of not pay attention to someone who you don't agree with. So that's always been a bit of a problem for me. Like, I hate the fact that, you know, a lot of people just think that I have such a negative spin on everything. And to be honest with you, I don't. I think that Microsoft has done a lot of good stuff, but they also tend to forget about the hardcore crowd. And another thing about this Moriarty podcast that I thought was really interesting was he had a really good take on a couple things that I had trouble pinpointing myself, but I felt uneasy about. Like when Phil Spencer and these people start mentioning these 2 billion gamers, Colin Moriarty was like, hey, you know, that's kind of a BS thing. There's not really that 2 billion gamers. You know, what he's talking about, these people are playing like Candy Crush and stuff like this on a phone. And he brings up that there's probably 2 to 300 million tops worldwide hardcore gamers, right? Which is what I've been trying to stress and say for a long time. You know, we don't have that same, you know, that 2 billion gamers that he's talking about is really kind of nonsense. And I do like the fact that somebody actually called him out on that, and I was thinking the same thing. You know what I mean? I was thinking, hey, this is one of those things that is hard to sort of articulate. I was having a problem wondering why I was having an issue with their conference. One of the things that I was having the biggest problem with their conference was this, in fact, right? And so, you know, for me personally, I do think that the 2 billion thing is complete BS and nonsense. When it comes to, I saw somebody ask me earlier, do I think the PS5, you know, well, listen, Gunstar, man, hold on. Crap. He says you can see the sort of people your content now attracts. You're not going to sit here anymore and listen to these whining fanboys complain about Xbox. I get it, dude. There's always going to be people out there that are going to tell you what you want to hear, man. But you got to ask yourself this. Are you going to them because they're, you know, their content's so amazing, or are you going to them because they're telling you exactly what you want to hear, right? I think that's the thing that you have to ask yourself, right? Like for me personally, would I stop listening to somebody because, you know, they're not 100% agreeing with me on everything? Of course not. I wouldn't do that. You know, I'm going to try and keep, you know, my opinion. I try to keep it positive, but it's hard to keep positive at particular points when Microsoft continues to sort of drop the ball on a lot of these things, you know, in my opinion anyway, especially in the exclusive front, right? But you're going to have people out there that tell you that everything Microsoft does is amazing and great. And, you know, I think that's fine. You know, there's something for everybody out there. That's what's great. Rich of Cucumber says, hi, Crap, do you think PS5 is more powerful than Scarlett? I think these things are going to be equal in almost every facet. And the reason why I think that is because Sony announced 8K, 120 frames, ray tracing, the same stuff, the solid state drive, quick load times, the same stuff, the Navi too, all this stuff, the same stuff that Microsoft announced for Scarlett. So these things I'm going to say are, if they're not the same in power, I don't know. It's going to be hard to imagine how different it could be. Not only that, but I don't know if you guys, hey, Daniel B says, I'm the fanboy. Interesting. I'm the fanboy. I'm not really sure which one am I a fanboy of though. Am I an Xbox fanboy, or am I a flip flopper? Am I a PlayStation fanboy now? You know, so Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Gunstar says later, it's games. I'm out. Listen, I do a channel about video games. I talk about video games. It's like, that's what I'm going to do. Hotman says Microsoft will never pay billions of dollars over a games publisher. They would pay to acquire all of Sony, and even then it's a long shot. Well, they couldn't buy Sony. I know Phil Spencer has talked a little bit about buying a Japanese studio, though. I don't know if that would ever be feasible. Yeah, I'm a Sir Turtle Hot says Crap is a Stadia fanboy. I think Stadia is DOA. I'm not really wishing that it's DOA, but I just feel like it's definitely going to be DOA. And the reason being is I feel like, and I know I'm not alone with this, but I just feel like we are we are very much probably 6, 8, 10 years away from having internet that can do what these guys are trying to do. I think it's too soon. And so I think Microsoft and Sony can afford to offer streaming options, right? And I feel like they'll continue to do that. But I also feel like the reason why they can continue to do like streaming options and stuff is because they have the console there to back that up as well. So just streaming only, I feel like that's doomed to fail, just like all the other ones have failed. And what we're going to see is Microsoft and Sony continue to thrive with the console thing. But the problem is Sony is going to put the console at the forefront, and I feel like Microsoft probably isn't going to do that. Microsoft isn't going to put the console at the forefront. You could tell by their E3, they're very much xCloud this, xCloud that, PC this, PC that. Even though they try to push the PC as Xbox, Xbox is PC narrative, I'm not sure that so many people were keen on that. So when you listen to the reactions of the crowd at E3, and every time Microsoft went and mentioned something PC, it got dead silent. Like, people that watch E3, we watch for the console stuff, right? Like, there is a PC dedicated show and people watch that or whatever. But Microsoft in particular, they have kind of a stranglehold on the console market. Like, people like consoles, and the people that watch E3 mostly are console people, or, if they are, but the people that were there, just, you could hear a pin drop every time they announced something PC related, right? And I get it, because like, I didn't want to see any PC announcement. It is what it is. That stuff doesn't appeal to me. I would much rather hear them do, new announcements for the Xbox. It's like some of that stuff was super catered to PC, like the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Like, when you first see those graphics, you think, is this a new realistic game? Wow. Look at that draw distance. Look, that looks amazing. And then you see that it's Microsoft Flight Simulator. You're just like, oh man, they're announcing this at E3. Just kind of bums you out a little bit, because the graphics look so good. It almost reminds me of, excuse me one second. It also almost reminds me of sort of like that Banjo-Kazooie announcement, right? Like, Nintendo announced a Banjo-Kazooie thing for Smash Brothers. Remember years ago when Project Spark was a game? Yeah, Project Spark was actually a thing. But remember when they announced a Conker's DLC for that or whatever, like a Conker's Bad Fur Day DLC? That was sort of like a slap in the face. Everybody wanted a Conker game, and instead we get a Project Spark Conker DLC, right? That sort of reminds me of what we saw from E3 from Microsoft and that Banjo-Kazooie thing, right? It was like, oh, fans want a new Banjo-Kazooie? We're listening, because we gave Nintendo the rights for the new Banjo-Kazooie. So that, to me, always felt like a little bit of a slap in the face. And then I actually, really do hope that we get one down the line somewhere, because I think fans want it. Hotman966 says, Crap Gamer, Stadia is DOA because you don't own your games like anybody else. Listen, I don't understand the Stadia model. You pay for the subscription, but you also have to buy the games individually. Now, just look at this mess with Minecraft Story Mode, right? Even if you own the game, right, you're not going to be able to download it here soon. So that's a bit of a problem. Hey, let's get to 100 likes, everybody. Please hit the like button. What's up, Def Jam Bam? How's it going, bro? Nice to see you. Print Play says, nah, Crap Gamer Flight Simulator looks amazing. Dude, okay, you're excited for that game and you don't even play flight sims. Is there even a flight simulator? Like, I don't understand what the big deal is with this, especially on a console. Like, that was a PC thing, so I don't understand the big deal for him. Like, I don't. Here's the thing. Even though a couple of you are saying, hey, you like the flight simulator thing, how many of you are actually going to go play it? How big is this thing going to be on Xbox? Like, I think you're lying to yourself if you're saying it's going to be a big deal on Xbox or do extremely well on Xbox. I just don't think it's going to do very well. Even if people say, hey, they might try it or whatever, how long can you go around flying around in a in a plane just looking around? Like, there's nothing to it. You know what I mean? I just don't understand, like, especially on a console, why that is. So let's see. Triple Cup Chuck, what's up? Rich of Cucumber says, I think Game Pass lovers, the quality of games which Microsoft makes will be mostly AA and smaller games. They can't make AAA new story-driven IP. My biggest fear is that they don't. You know what I mean? I just hope that they do come out with at least one AAA single player IP and just focus everything on that. Jay Gaming says, is there a final straw that will make you not buy the next Xbox and just go with PS5? Well, here's the thing. I usually like to get everything, right? So if I have the money, I'm going to get everything. But I also want to point out that for me personally, I feel less of a burden to get the next Xbox. And let me explain that to you. Less of a burden to get the next Xbox for the simple fact that I'm going to be able to play Halo on my Xbox One X just fine, probably 4K 60 or dynamic 4K 60. I'm going to be able to play the next, Bleeding Edge. I can play Gears at 4K 60 on my X. What more can you want, right? Phil Spencer said it himself that next generation isn't going to be this huge, like, graphical leap that we're used to. And I was just reading an article that said this new next gen might be the most boring and uneventful switch that we've ever had. Basically just kind of confirming that, since we're taking everything with us, controllers and everything, I would almost wager money that the next Xbox is going to use the same controllers as the Xbox One. That's going to make it all the easier for us to take our Xbox One controllers and all that kind of stuff with us. And I do think that, I think that's fine, but it gives less of incentive to upgrade. It's not the new hotness. We bought an Xbox One because it was the new hotness. We bought a PS4 because it was the new hotness. Now it's like you don't even need the new hotness to play the latest games. Where's it going to end? I will say though that there is going to be these third-party developers that are making only next-gen titles, and those will definitely not be on Xbox One per se, unless Microsoft forces them to do that or figures out a way to do that. So we'll kind of have to see how that works out. For me personally, I don't like the idea of the base Xbox One model holding back like the future models and things like that. That's just me, I just hope that Microsoft pays attention and delivers some great games. That's the only thing that I care about. All the other stuff, the announcements, doesn't really mean as much to me. It all comes down to the great content, and if Microsoft can get the content out, I'll be happy. I think everybody else will be happy too. So as long as they have the content, that's what matters in my opinion. Sony tends to have the content right now. People look at them as being a great content creator, not so much with Microsoft. So that's a bit of a problem. Dark Carnage says, hey, Crap, what do you think of the next Xbox Series 2 Elite controller? I love that thing. Pre-ordered. Hopefully I get to keep that. Mojo Blue says, yeah, the leap times will be the load times, overall speed, and hopefully games will have better AI. Anonymous customer says, first time in chat, keep it up, Crap. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Triple Cup Chuck says, I thought Blair Witch was Alan Wake, a huge miss. Yeah, it looked very Alan Wake-ish for sure. RL says, when are we going to acknowledge that Phil Spencer lies before every E3 by saying this is going to be the biggest E3 ever? That's a good point, right? As everybody's joining me, please like. We're closing in on 100 likes. Let's get there. Look, Phil, his job is to hype up people. He's a hype man. He gets to get people excited for the product, and he does that. But the problem is they're promising all this stuff, right? But which is it? Like, which Phil do we believe? Because recently he did an interview and he's like, yeah, we want to win. But when you hear him talking the other time, it's not about winning or anything like that. It's about growing the industry and this and that, and kumbaya and all this kind of stuff. So for me personally, I think that, Microsoft really has a lot of work to do to win back the hardcore fans. Just my thought anyway. Eli Chun says, Crapgamer, if you're a hardcore gamer, you don't need new IPs, just new games. I enjoy my X. All the games on it run smooth. No reason to bash on this year's E3. They did show a lot of games. The problem is, Eli Chun, is that they haven't announced a new AAA IP since 2015, excuse me. So that's 4 years. It'll be 5 years before we actually get a new announcement. I feel like they do owe it to us. You can call it entitlement or whatever, but we're spending all this money on these consoles. Yes, you're right. There's a ton of other games we can play. The problem is all these other games that are coming out feel so much like been there, done that, especially to me lately. Maybe that's a me problem, that the really unique games come from the first party because they're the ones taking full advantage of these consoles. So I feel like Microsoft hasn't done a really good job of taking advantage of their console. The Xbox One X, most powerful console, but where are the realistic looking games? Where are the games that the first party's taking advantage of that makes it look amazing? Now, Gears 5 looks like it'll be amazing, and doing 4K HDR 60 frames is huge. So, Crap, you see the interview, Phil says he doesn't know how powerful the PS5 dev kit is. He knows damn well Xbox isn't as powerful. I'm going to say that there's a slight chance, I'm 50-50, that the PS5 is going to be more powerful. Mojo Blue says, Crap, did you notice that Insomniac was all over Twitter with Sunset Overdrive tweets? Weird, you'd think they were all in on Spider-Man 2. They actually are making Spider-Man 2. Anonymous customer says, Crap, do you miss the days of when you bought a game and it said only on Xbox? I sure do. It gave me a reason to own an Xbox and feel proud to play on that console. Old school gamer blues. Well, listen, earlier this generation, Microsoft had this parity clause where games had to come out at the same date or before on Xbox. The reason being, even according to Phil Spencer, was to make Xbox gamers feel like first-class citizens. Since then, he doesn't really care to do that. It doesn't matter to him. And so I agree. I used to love seeing, that, because that's what differentiates the platform, right? Sonic the Hedgehog versus Mario World, right? Like, Bonk's Adventure on that. Everything has a defining thing, okay? PlayStation originally was Crash Bandicoot, right? So you have to have that defining game that makes people want to go to your platform, and you can't just keep rehashing it the way that Microsoft has lately. I feel like Microsoft has not done a very good job of getting people excited for the brand like they should, and they really missed an opportunity to get people excited about the next generation, quote unquote, meaning that it would have been fun for them to actually go out there and change things up a little bit. But hopefully they can do that. Like with this stuff, right? It is disheartening. If you are just joining me, please like and share it out. Microsoft wants to put Halo Master Chief Collection on PS4. They wanted to at one point. How does that make you feel as an Xbox gamer in the chat? I'll ask you guys that, right? If you're an Xbox fan in the chat, how would you feel if they put that on there? Eli Chun says, I do agree on that, but if we always bash on Xbox, how will they have a better year than PlayStation? Well, here's the thing. I'm of a weird situation, my friend. Like, I love Xbox. I like the ecosystem. I like the games. I just feel personally bored by what the offerings are, even the multiplats right now, right? So Forza Horizon 4, I'm trying to play that, but it just feels so much like the other Forza Horizons. And those are good, but you just wanted something of a bigger change there. Now, when I played God of War on PS4, it was such a change from the other God of Wars, such an improvement. Like, it was amazing. Okay. And when I look at the games on Xbox, they have a bunch of mediocre games. I just want them to do well with bigger and better games, and games that, more people can play and enjoy it. And they don't all have to be multiplayer. That's the thing. They're so stuck in their ways, and they don't trust their own developers enough to show them off early enough. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a game that's been in development for a year and a half, 2 years, you probably have something to show. So show something and let people get excited for a change. Big Daddy Tomcat says, I don't care if Master Chief Collection goes to PS5, but if it happens and I want God of War on Xbox. Here's the thing, Big Daddy Tomcat, that would never happen, right? That would never happen. Sony very much protects their IP much the way that Nintendo does. So anything that Microsoft does, like puts a game on another platform, that doesn't really mean that we're going to get anything in return. Like Ori and Super Lucky Tales and Cuphead went to Switch. We're not going to, and so did Banjo and Kazooie for Smash. We're not going to suddenly get Mario Kart on Xbox. It's not going to happen, right? Microsoft like rents these out or loans them out or whatever, and that's basically how it is. Eli Chan says, Crap, I know most of us were expecting Microsoft to have a better E3, but like I always tell you, you have to stay patient. What if they are waiting for next E3 since Sony will be there? But here's the thing. Eli, and you're making sense. I'm not disagreeing with you to just disagree with you. Why wait for an opponent if you can get a W by blowing people away and get it? If you get a year, like you don't have to sell your console a year in advance to get a head start a year in advance. If Microsoft would have came out and showed off, 2 or 3 new IP for the next console, and showed us some on high-end PCs or whatever, and really impressed us, and there was a new IP and Fable, then that gets people genuinely excited for the platform. Instead of doing that, what they did was they really just had a kind of a divisive conference where people were kind of split if it was decent or not. You know what I mean? Like when Microsoft is always going to be not the media darling, right? That's always going to be like Nintendo and Sony. They're the media darlings. But Microsoft, they had a chance to come out here and actually take some of that. They could have been the media darling, and they failed to do it because you look at what the media is saying, and they're saying Microsoft dropped their opportunity. They didn't really do what they could have. They should have done more, and I tend to agree with that. I do think they're going to come next year, but it's such a meme right now, right? Here's the thing, guys. If I'm going, well, wait the next year, because that's exactly what Microsoft said. That's what I've been saying for 4 years already, and most people have been saying it. People are just going to make an excuse next year if they don't do anything special, right? Because this is what I get this year. Well, crap. They only bought these studios a year ago. Why would you expect them to have something to show? And you know what they're going to say to me next year if they don't show anything? Well, crap. They only bought these studios 2 years ago. Why did you expect them to have things to show? Like this, there'll always be these people that make excuses for Microsoft, right? They could show off what they want. Look at Nintendo, okay? What was it, last year? Or maybe the year before? Metroid Prime 4 in development, like a little cue card. This year, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 in development, right? Like the Switch is literally, 2 years old, and it launched with Breath of the Wild, and they're already making a sequel and already announced a sequel, right? That gets people excited. Not announcing stuff doesn't get people excited. Just my opinion, these indie sizzle reels and all this kind of stuff, that's great. But at the same time, I just feel like that should be icing on the cake. The problem that Microsoft faces in reality is this. They come out with some decent games, but the games, like they're not come out the way they should, right? Like Halo and Gears and Forzas are great, but when they release a State of Decay 2 and you haven't released anything in such a long time, that game got unnecessary hate because why? Well, I mean, the game wasn't great, but if that game was sandwiched between 2 big triple A's, then I think it gets less hate, in my opinion. But the fact that people, that people realistically were expecting some kind of big, some kind of big game, and we haven't had any announcements in forever. It's it's bad. Jay Slayer 66 says, "Hey Crap, do you think Overwatch is a AAA game? If so, then so is Bleeding Edge." The difference between Overwatch and Bleeding Edge is Overwatch is like a shooter thing, right? And it's like got a bunch of characters and things like that. I don't know particularly much about it. I've played it like once or twice, but Bleeding Edge is just like a 4v4 thing. But I don't think I don't think it's AAA at all. Vincent says, "Crap, do you think Xbox will announce new studios at XO19? They might." Stefan D. King says, "Will I be able to stream Scarlett games from the X?" I think so. I don't know exactly how that works. We'll have to see how that works. I don't know if you're going to, I think that might tap out at a certain, 4K if you have a certain amount of internet or something like that. So we'll have to see how that works out. I'm not exactly sure how that works out, but yeah. Let's see. What do we got here? Bleeding Edge is generic trend chaser. It could be. Mojo Blue says, "Crap, they are stuck on the 1 year to at almost 18-month window, and they have held hard to that. Hopefully at some point they realize that's not the way to go." I agree. Bambi, the best on Xbox. Oh, come on, guys. We know Microsoft was holding back because all the insiders, and they have had at least 3 new IP to show, and they only showed the Ninja Theory game. Well, here's the thing with that, right? Insiders, and trust me, whether people think I'm wrong or full of crap some of the time, I hear stuff. I'm friends with developers. I managed to make a few friends in the industry, and they tell you things like I knew the name of the Xbox One X way before they announced it, and I did a video about it, and it's still up, so you can check it. I had heard that Fable was going to come. I heard for a fact that there would be no new Splinter Cell. I heard that late, and I did a video on it. I said 100% no chance of no Splinter Cell this year. They canceled it. So it's not an exact science. Sometimes things change. But for me, I think that what we're seeing is these leaks that are happening, these insiders, they're getting less and less true information. They're really cracking down on this stuff, right? So that is something that we have to keep in mind as well. And they can be wrong, right? Nobody's perfect, insider or not. Nobody's perfect, right? So we were told we were going to get a Lockhart, we were going to get Anaconda, and Scarlett was this and Scarlett was that, and it looks like we're just going to get the one now. And I'm fine with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm completely fine with that. I just think that what Microsoft has to do is realistically they have to keep people engaged. They have to keep people excited about what's coming, and they had a chance to do that, and they sort of let that go. But at the end of the day, they can come back, from that, and they're going to continue to make money. You guys, listen. When I say I'm down on Xbox a little bit, I'm not like, oh man, Xbox sucks or whatever, right? I think they're going to continue to make a ton of money, right? I do. I just think that they're going to make a ton of money. They are, but is the hardcore going to be happy? That I think is the big question, right? Because they seem to sort of abandon the hardcore to an extent, and that's just, to me, is just the truth, right? Like they've almost abandoned the hardcore. If you look at it, they won an award for having the least violent video game presentation or something at E3. Like, that's not my Microsoft. WR Cup says, what other Japanese game announcements will they make? Skies of Arcadia remastered, Lost Odyssey remastered, Power Stone. Dude, I don't think they do any, especially like if there's exclusives or things that they own. I'm sorry, but I don't know if they will. Jay Gaming says, crap, do you feel silly for supporting Xbox all these years? I'm still supporting Xbox, right? You look at my vids. Some people say it's flip-flopping. I'm just covering gaming. I like Xbox still. If they mess up, I'm going to say, hey, I'm not a big fan of that. If they do good, I'm going to be, hey, this is good news. Same thing with Sony, right? Sony's looking to buy new studios. There's a rumor that they might get a studio that Microsoft that used to make Xbox exclusives. That's just a rumor that's going around right now, though. That's just one of those things that sort of happens. I want to see Microsoft flourish and do well, because I think competition is absolutely amazing and a key pillar to the industry. So for me personally, hey, Microsoft has to keep it real. They have to keep these games coming. They have to keep everybody excited. And so far, they haven't done a good job at that, in my opinion. Now, of course, there's going to be a ton of people that love everything Microsoft's doing, and I'm okay with that too, because it's just opinions as well. I like some of the things that Microsoft is doing. They're killing it in the hardware department, right? That that Elite 2 just looks absolutely amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Like, holy crap, that's just so great. I thought the Cyberpunk stuff was cool. Weird that was running on a PlayStation 4 Pro or something, though, right? That's so weird to me, like the Game Pass stuff, Game Pass Ultimate. I think that's really cool. Although I'm very wary of digital and stuff like that, for the main fact that you can lose it. I never thought that'd be a thing where, oh crap, you're gonna lose. You can actually lose your content where you're not actually able to go out there and download it anymore. And that's something that scares the hell out of me as a gamer, because I don't want to lose my games. I want to always be able to go in there and sort of download and play my games. I know, like, right now it's just Minecraft story mode or whatever, but that still is scary if you think about it. It's something that's kind of uncharted territory. And you think about all the games that have licenses, right? Like product licenses or music licenses. Those are only 5-year deals, apparently, like in every game. So that is extra scary. And I hope that Microsoft knows what they're doing, because they definitely need to get out there and sort of and make sure that people, want to keep their games, and they're able to keep their games. I hate the fact that, we can't keep our games, all the time, the digital games. Like, why should we have to keep them on our hard drive? Like this Minecraft thing has me shook a little bit, but hopefully this is not a trend, but it always has worried me. That's one of the things that worried me most about the original Xbox One idea. Let's see. Daniel Nelson says, based on the wording, I doubt that the PS5 is more powerful. Sony is only talking in 8K videos, not game graphics. The new Xbox was talking 8K graphics. Daniel, please link me to this information. Nerdy Mastermind says, how do you feel about other big Xbox guys turning on you? Listen, you have to look at the source, right? I think that there's probably bigger money in pretending to be Xbox is great all the time than coming down on Xbox, right? Like, I could probably just lie to everybody and be like, hey, no, it's great. You don't need exclusives. Exclusives are dumb. This is going to be fine. Or lie and say everybody's going to be doing this in the future, even though I honestly don't think that, right? But I would rather be honest and real, and have more people dislike me or whatever. And I got nothing against anybody particular, I just do my thing, do silly videos and a couple podcasts a week, and I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? It seems like people still enjoy what I do, and I'm thankful for that. I'm very grateful for that. When it comes to Xbox, I think that they're both going to do, I don't think either one of these consoles is going to do 8K gaming unless it's something like iDarb 2, right? iDarb 2 could probably be 8K. Other than that, I just do not see how I don't see how either of these consoles is going to be like, you're not going to see The Last of Us 3 in 8K 120 frames a second. I think most things we're going to see a lot like this gen, man. I think we're going to see 4K 60, maybe 1440p 120. I don't know, but we're not going to see 8K 120 frame rate. Like, imagine the cost of that, right? Man, we're going to end up having to pay $800 for these things if that turns out to be true. That's why I always say, hey, there's a lot of things like buzzwords and marketing words. These are things that that they actually that happens that they use, right? So they're trying to hype people up, trying to get people excited for these type of consoles, but they're both almost sounding exactly the same, and they're both just using kind of these marketing terms and these buzzwords to catch people's attentions. The fact of the matter is, Microsoft was using 4K. Sony was using 4K as this big marketing term, and and it works, right? So dynamic 4K, even Sony, even though they had dynamic, which is worse, dynamic 4K, right? It sounds amazing. It sounds amazing when you hear it. So they're going to be marketing 8K, but how many people even have 4K, right? Like, it's not even, I don't think, 50% saturation in the US. So they're already going to be talking 8K, and then what after that? Like, I think like it's this never-ending thing. I think that what they're doing by talking 8K is possibly setting it up so in the future they can upscale 8K or do something along those lines. I don't think we're going to be seeing native 8K games. LG Nemesis says 8K is future-proofing just like 4K was future-proofing when Xbox One came out in 2013. That's what I'm betting money on. Yep, you could be right. We could just be seeing that these consoles are going to stick around for 5-7 years, and they're not going to come out with mid-gen refreshes, but they're going to be able to do what they want. WR Cup says, keep doing your thing. F the haters. I still dig the content, even if you're a Ravens fan. Hey, the Ravens are amazing. Rich the Cucumber says, dynamic 4K gaming is amazing. Yeah, it is. John Gay says, or Gaya says, crap, do you think GTA 6 will come out next year? I don't know. I'm not sure. Why would you ever come out with a GTA 6 when GTA 5 Online is like the #1 selling game and is just like doing crazy numbers still, right? That's the way I look at it. It's making so much money. Like, you almost can't imagine them not being able to, or them not doing that, like it's selling so well still. It's always like in the top 10 NPD, and even in the top 10 over there on, even over there on like the UK and stuff like that. It's like, it's always in the top 10, and it sells incredibly well. Like, holy crap. I'm surprised by how many people still play that game, and online too, right? Like, very, very surprised. It's just one of those things that just kind of shocks you, So that's my opinion anyway. Like, I think that we might get a GTA, but it almost doesn't make sense. Hey, hit the like button, guys, if you're just joining me. I appreciate it. Wrath the Emperor says Bears coming for them Ravens. I don't know, man. The Ravens are going to be different this year. I don't know what to expect because they got Jackson at quarterback now. They've got new running back. They've got a couple of young tight ends. They drafted Hollywood Brown, the new receiver, and they picked up another one, Boykin. So they got some young, fast receivers. They could be very dynamic. They could be dynamic on offense and sports. Yes, sports. I know people love talking about sports on my podcast. I actually love football, so yeah, I don't mind the talk. The Eight Disciple says, are any of you guys tried Game Pass on PC? I have, and it's buggy mess. I know it's in beta, but if this is the future, you would think it would work and be optimized. Here's the thing, Eight Disciples. What do you expect from the Windows Store, right? Or the Microsoft Store, whatever they're calling it these days. Like that thing, that launcher is just a big mess, and it's broken, right? And it's broken on Xbox too, right? Game Pass work is just weird. The store and stuff doesn't always work for me, right? And apparently because we share the same store, I don't use PC, but yeah, apparently that's something that has a lot of problems here. Hold on. Let's see. Crap, you watched the finals last night? Yeah, I watched a little bit of it, man. I know I'm going to get some hate for this, man, but I was actually hoping the Warriors would win. Would have been 3 in a row, right? So, yeah. Eli Chun says, Crapgamer, do you feel like the E3 Microsoft focused on younger players and PC players to bring in money for new studios? I feel like they've focused on casual. I don't know if that's strictly younger, but I do feel like they focus very heavily on casual players. And that's probably because they're focused, they're obsessed with this 2 million people number. And I don't think that that's I don't think that that's smart. Primitive Meat says, crap, sad you being attacked for not wearing blinders and keeping it real. A true fan will not coddle or enable these companies. Yeah, that's exactly my point. I do feel like sometimes I can be a little bit, people don't want to hear the negativity all the time. I understand that. But damn, for 3 months leading up to E3, I was like very much like, oh, you guys got to do this. And I know they know, they hear us. I don't think they care. They really care about that quote unquote 2 billion gamers that they can reach that are going to play Candy Crush on their service, So I think that's what they care about. And that's fine. Let me see. I am going to watch the full Giant Bomb interview with Phil Spencer. I watched some of it. Let's see. No, am I done with Microsoft? No, man. I'm still playing on Xbox One X. I still think that they are going to have great games. Look, Gears is one of my favorite franchises. So why would I be done with Microsoft right now? I don't think that would make much sense. I'm very optimistic that they can turn things around and come out with some incredible games. It comes down to content, right? If they're going to come out with content, I think that that's the most important thing. You have to be able to come out with that content that's going to impress me and not just me. So, when it comes to Microsoft, I feel like what they're doing is they're going to talk about what the console looks like, and apparently it's only one console. So I don't know if you guys knew that or not. I'm reading this article. They talked about it early, like the Xbox One X, 18 months before it ships. At some point, they're going to show what the console looks like. From a marketing standpoint, Microsoft wants to have different beats of news. Phil Spencer knows what the console is going to look like already, apparently. He says, I know what it's going to look like. I think it's a cool-looking new thing, which will be interesting, but we don't have the final industrial design done yet. So it's not like we're going to put out a half-done ID and say this is what it's going to look like. We'll wait on that because that's not really going to determine purchase decisions. Even the name, he says, I hope somebody is making their mind or decision on this product based on the name, or I hope somebody is not making their mind or decision on this product based on the name. Listen, don't ever discount what names when they're being made fun of. Remember the Xbone? Like that haunted Microsoft the entire generation. Now the Xbox One SAT edition, that's kind of hampering Microsoft right now too. I feel like you have to be very careful what you name this thing. You don't want it to spell out something stupid and then let Sony win because of that. He also talks about the price point. He says the price will be important. Clearly, price is one of these things people want to know. And as we're kind of watching the cost of the components that are coming in, things like teacup or tear-ups and other things, trying to figure out what the price is going to be next year, we have a design price in mind, and I think that we're going to hit that. But we want to make sure that everything comes in right, so that's the price we hit. So we'll get the price out as soon as we can so that people can make those decisions. For me personally, since they already announced the console, I would love for them to announce a price point so that we can already pre-order this thing. Give people extra time, almost like a layaway. You know, if it's going to be that expensive or $500 or whatever, um, let us go out there and and be able to kind of pay on these things a little bit. You know, just my opinion, because that's what I did with the Xbox One X. You know, I ordered it. I paid a little bit off at a time, I think at like GameStop or something like that. And then that meant like when the time came, I was able to pay for it up front. I just don't want to be hit with like $600 up front or something, because I think that's like an insane thing to be paid with. So yeah, like for me, and I think a lot of other people probably feel that same way too, if they were able to sort of go out there and get, you know, get it up there, get the price up there as soon as possible and show us what this console looks like, the better off we'll be, in my opinion anyway. So let's see. Eli Chun says, add me on Xbox Slayer Mamba. Let's see. I'll show you the ropes on some games. Keep the content. Remember, patience. Listen, nobody's been more patient than me, man. Look at me. I wait till next E3. I've said it for 4 straight years. I'm not going to say it again, but it's not like I'm just going to throw my Xbox away. So are you keeping your One X or trading it towards the new Xbox? It depends on what kind of deal they give me, right? If Microsoft can go into this upcoming year and they have a year and a half to show me why I should upgrade, right? And if they show me good games and a good reason to upgrade day one, then I will. And if I can trade in my X and get, you know, $250 or $200 off, even better. I have no problem doing that. I would definitely do that. So EDM Gamer says 100 T-flops. I don't think it's going to be that. Hey, if you guys want to add me, it's MOH, like Medal of Honor, space Crapgamer on Xbox Live. I got, you know, quite a bit of followers. Mostly, like, lately, what I've only been playing on there is a little bit of Sea of Thieves here or there, or Call of Duty Black Ops 4. So, you know, maybe I'll, you know, it's hard finding time. You know, I've been playing a little bit of VR on PS4 as well. So, you know, it's just one of those things. I've been more in a unique kind of mode lately, where I've just wanted to play games that sort of are unique and appeal to me. Primitive Meat says Microsoft has turned what once was a close relationship to a long distance one. Got to make sure sense for a true old guard fan. Yeah, I hear that a lot too, right? Again, if you guys are happy and love what Microsoft is doing, I'm not going to knock you. I'm just going to keep it real. Microsoft, they did an okay job at E3. I guess they probably did what they had to do. I think everybody would admit, or I think you're a liar if you don't admit this, that they needed to show at least one new AAA IP. You know, it's been forever. Microsoft, let's see. Crap, are you going to drop the MOH off your gamer tag when Xbox launches the new Xbox name scheme? I doubt it, because, you know, the name's going to be the name anyway. As for the PS5, as soon as I can pre-order that thing, I'm going to pre-order that as well. I just trust Sony to come out with the games that are going to be really good a little bit more than Microsoft right now. Mindthon says AAA games are expensive to develop. They need to sell millions, so casuals are needed. Well, here's the thing. That's what Game Pass is for, right? Because you have a service that's going to be able to draw in casual and hardcore alike. So I think that's probably the biggest difference between what we're going to see from Microsoft and sort of Sony going forward. You know, I do think that's going to be one of the bigger differences that we see. But I'm very excited to see what Microsoft can do with these developers and a little bit of time and money. So King 405 King, hey man, look, I've always just kind of spoken from the heart, man. Like, originally, I tell people this and people kind of give me crap for it. When I started this, I did this weird shtick where it was like I would talk down to the audience and stuff like that. And there's people that do that still. But I always looked at it in myself as I was able to do that, but I also could take the crap. Like, people would poke fun at me or put my head on pictures and you know what I mean? And I never cared, you know what I mean? If I could give it, I could take it. And I feel like that's something that separates me from a lot of these other YouTubers. Eli Chun, thank you. He says, show some support, peeps. Even if he does bash on Xbox, he still enjoys the Beast Box. Crap, keep it up with the content and stay positive. Listen, exactly. I still am going to do positive Xbox things. Like, I like a lot of what they're doing. Finally, this is a really good question. Ryzen G says, crap, what games on Xbox and PlayStation are you most hyped for? So, Gears 5, Ori 2, Battletoads, Modern Warfare. I'm super hyped for that. Jedi Fallen Order, very hyped for that. PlayStation side, they've got some VR stuff that I'm very interested in. Death Stranding, I don't know. It looks very interesting, but I have to wait and see. The Last of Us 2, obviously, Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, those games look fantastic. So yeah, those are like the ones that I'm most hyped for right now. I'm very excited for those. Halo Infinite, obviously, I just wish they would have shown us some actual gameplay. LG Nemesis says, my biggest shocker from E3 is me being hyped for Minecraft Dungeons. Hey, I like that too. Not because it's Minecraft, but because it's an ARPG in the Minecraft world. Will make a decent world for ARPG. Listen, I don't understand why they didn't keep that an exclusive, right? Why not just make that Xbox and PC? Why put it on PlayStation and Switch? That doesn't really make sense to me either, but kind of interesting. So Robbie Quintana says, Quintana says there's a lot of AAA titles on Game Pass already, though. Yeah, but those are multiplats, multiplats. I'm looking for stuff that's more or less that you can't really play on other platforms. Hold on, this is interesting. According to the bots telling the truth equals bashing. Yeah, that is weird. Jedi Fallen Order does look amazing. Hold on, Big Daddy Tomcat says your headlines are not honest crap. I don't know. Multiple sources say PS5 is more powerful than Xbox Scarlett. I just gave you guys multiple sources. I even linked it. Colin Moriarty said so in his podcast, and Andrew Reiner, which I did a video about that one the other day, have both said that's multiple sources. And there's even more than that, but those are the ones that I linked, have said that the PS5 is in fact more powerful than the next Xbox. Microsoft needs exclusives now. How is that not honest, right? So it's funny because stuff like this I think are the most honest and legit headlines I can do, because I mix my opinion in with what the topic is, and and people still complain. So it's one of those things where I'll never be able to win. And the funny thing is I think I do so much content, right? Like, just look around, right? So the people that hate the titles that I do, they're the ones using titles. Other YouTubers are, is it even possible? How's this? Wow, Megaton, Monster News, right? Like, this is stuff I've been using those kind of words for years, right? But it's just because I do so much content, and so it's easy to kind of double up on these words and stuff like that. But everybody uses the same type of wording that I do, maybe just not as much because they aren't doing as much content. But duly noted, man, duly noted. JD Gamer says Ninja Theory mentioned doing VR in an interview when they talked about their multiple teams. What if Microsoft does VR? Will you buy it? 100%. If Microsoft does VR, I am down day one. I would love to play VR on Xbox. I would especially love it if they could do a wireless headset, because interesting thing is I'm in the middle of moving. So I've moved my PlayStation 4 Pro and my VR. And while it does only have the one wire on the VR to the actual breakout box, to hook that thing up was a pain in the butt. Holy crap, I forgot how many wires and cords and all that stuff was involved in that. It took me a little while to remember. And so wireless VR I'm hoping for next gen. That's what I'm hoping for. But if Microsoft does it, day freaking one. Yo, showing, rack them up. Hell yeah, bro. Let's see. Cheddar Bob says, I don't get why Microsoft didn't show no Gears 5 gameplay when it releases in September. Bad move. Yeah, especially, here's the thing that bothers me about them not showing gameplay of Gears. The game comes out in September, so we're only a few months away from that. But not only does it come out in September, but they said that they did a lot of changes, right? So supposedly there's a lot of changes to the game, meaning, more open world or more this and more that. So if that's the case, right? If that's the case, they have more open world elements and more this or more that. Well, why the hell not show them off, right? Like, they're literally not showing off the campaign stuff until the 6th of September. Now, if you get the Ultimate Edition, you get access to the game on the 6th, right? So literally, they're not going to show off the campaign until this game releases to early access people. I guess if you're Game Pass Ultimate, you get 4 days early access, or if you buy the Ultimate Edition, you get 4 days early access or whatever. So, wow, color me surprised by that. Like, I realistically thought that Microsoft, that they would have showed it off. So Microsoft has a tendency to do that kind of thing sometimes, though, right? Where they show the worst possible footage that they can of stuff, right? Like, I thought the Gears stuff was okay. For some reason, the Gears Escape stuff, and maybe it's totally different type of game. Reminds me of Metal Gear Survive, right? Like, I don't know if that's a really good comparison, but it just sort of reminded me of a knockoff, like a cheesy kind of thing. And maybe it'll be great. I don't know. But I really wish they would have shown regular multiplayer and campaign, just because I feel like that's what people wanted to see. And supposedly, if it's more open world and you're using that skiff to get around or whatever, then why not show it off? You know, I think that would be that would be a great way to get people hyped or whatever, show off the changes that you're making. So that's what I want to see, and hopefully they can show that off really, really soon. You know, hopefully they see people, you know, kind of changing or whatever. So let's see, what do we got? Ninja, let's see, any other questions? That's 256 subscribers that can't handle facts and see only rainbows and unicorns. I don't know what you're. Let me see. Well, listen, Tomato Dragon. You know, the subscriber thing is just what it is. A lot of people will go, "Well, I'm not going to watch, or I'm going to unsubscribe," and they still watch or whatever. You know, I don't really pay attention to that. You know, so it's just one of those things where, you know, I think people are gonna watch or they're not. The subscriber thing is cool. Like, I'm always happy to interact with the subscribers and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to pander to people to keep subscribers, right? Why should I have to coddle people? Why should I have to coddle people or lie to them to keep them subscribed to my channel, right? So I'm not going to pretend that everything's hunky-dory and amazing in Xbox world when it's not. I'm one of the few that's actually keeping it real with Xbox right now. So while I would love to have a kabillion million subscribers, I would rather have fewer subscribers and a loyal fan base of subscribers that knows that I'm keeping it real. So let's see. They aren't showing off the campaign because they know broflakes will lose their minds at seeing an evil woman in their video games. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, it just looks like a Gears game to me. Big Daddy Tomcat says, I have the Ravens in my Madden League, and I'm really excited for the game to release. Yeah, man, Madden looks pretty good. I don't know if I've seen much of it. You know, I just feel like it's just Madden, and there's no competition there. It'll probably be pretty good. They're all pretty decent these days. Hit the like button if you guys don't mind. I would appreciate that. Mr. Glass says, Fox Anaconda will be using Navi 20. Rumor is PlayStation 5 will be using Navi 10. Maybe. I don't know what the differences is there, but like the Don said, who's a developer, he says that the PlayStation 5 dev kit is closer to the release one than the Xbox one. So we'll see. Maybe Microsoft is going to be able to go in and make changes and stuff like that. Summer of Blazing says, crap, if PlayStation ends up with studios like Insomniac or Kojima Productions, would it be hard for Xbox Next Gen? I think it would be hard because Sony tends to double down on what they do well. And what they do well is single-player narrative-driven games. And if they end up with more studios that do that, say a Remedy, Kojima Productions, Insomniac, that's going to make Microsoft look even worse because they keep putting out games that are just multiplayer only or these smaller AA games. I think Microsoft really has to go out and make sure that they, you know, that they sort of appease every type of gamer, not just the online or games as a service type of gamer. Oh, okay. Body Bag says, keeping it real, man. I've been subbed to this channel since 2013. Your news has never been accurate, more fanboyish. Well, I tend to cover the news, and you can feel free. Most stuff has a source unless it's opinion, and I usually mix my opinion in. I think that's what kind of makes me different. Now everybody and their mother does the same thing, but I don't really see. For me, when I started doing this was because I thought the media was really, really down on Xbox to start the generation, and they were. And Xbox had a lot going for it early on. You know, they had some good games, and Sony didn't have much. And I felt like they were getting a bad take from the gaming media and stuff like that, and fans. And I believe that's gone down a little bit, right? Like, it's not as bad as it was, but I felt like I was trying to even the odds a little bit, and now I just want to be kind of more neutral with it, you know, because I'm really a fan of everything. Although I prefer, you know, I prefer to actually play in the Xbox ecosystem, but I enjoy PlayStation tremendously as well. Sonic says reboot Conquer or Banjo. I agree with you 100%. Cheddar Bob says, crap, which E3 conference did you enjoy the most? Well, I really liked what Nintendo had to offer. I have a Switch. I like a lot of what they're doing. So obviously Nintendo is big there. I like little bits and pieces of all of them, right? Like even the Microsoft one, the Elite 2 controller, Cyberpunk looked really, really good. We got to see some Battletoad stuff, Ori 2, Gears, even though I would have liked to see some Gears actual gameplay. We also saw some Halo Infinite again, would have liked to see some gameplay. But there was stuff from all these conferences, Watch Dogs, that just that I thought looked good. So just depending on what you were really interested in, I feel like that's that's sort of what I'm talking about. Microsoft apparently had a round of layoffs recently as well, and Amazon Game Studios has apparently canceled multiple projects as well. This is kind of breaking news as well. I didn't even know Amazon was into it, but Amazon has laid off dozens of employees from Amazon Game Studios as of yesterday as it shut down multiple unannounced projects. Kotaku reports a number of employees were told yesterday morning that they would be given 60 days to find employment in other internal positions, after which they would receive severance packages if they could not find a position. Amazon confirmed the layoffs to Kotaku, but did not specify the numbers. Amazon Game Studios is recognizing some of our teams to allow us to prioritize development of New World, Crucible, and a new unannounced project we were excited to reveal in the future. So it looks like Amazon Game Studios, which a lot of people are assuming Amazon will do a streaming game service as well. Now it looks like they're laying off a bunch of people and and closing down some of their studios. So yeah, like I don't know. Like gaming is such a weird medium, right? Like we don't know kind of what to expect. And most of the time it's not good. Like if things don't succeed the way that a lot of these people really expect them to. So yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out in the future. But yeah, very exciting stuff. I think Stadia is going to be the next one to go as well. Navi 10 does not have ray tracing at the hardware level. Only Navi 20 does. Okay, well, if that's the what happened to Rocksteady? Rocksteady's working on something. Supposedly WB Montreal had to reboot their game that they were working on. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. I don't think Stadia is going to be around very much longer. You guys might have heard like Ubisoft is going to launch their streaming thing. All these companies are looking to launch their own streaming services. And I feel like what's going to happen is there's going to be a burnout situation, right? Where people are just fatigued at this. And I feel like that's literally what we're in the middle of happening. And I hope that that's not the case. Like I prefer to own my stuff, but they're going to weed themselves out either way. We're going to see sort of what happens in the future. So hopefully we see, I'm canceling subscriptions left and right? Because some of the stuff that I'm paying for, and to be fair, most of the stuff that I was paying for was non-game related, right? It was like entertainment related. And so I've actually, canceled a lot of that stuff because I wasn't using it. I'd be billed for it and I'd be like, when the hell was the last time I used CBS or, this or that? And so I feel like people are going to do that too. They're going to get tired of all these subscription services. And I know they keep saying they're an option or whatever, but that's just the way I feel about it. You guys might feel a little bit differently. I'm not into all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Crap, the whole narrative that Xbox excels at multiplayer is honestly just a legacy trait from the 360 and no longer holds weight. Now they just push out lame Game Pass shovelware. Well, I know I'm going to get hate for this. I really enjoy Sea of Thieves. I think Sea of Thieves is good, especially now. Maybe at the beginning it didn't have a ton of content. But Gears and Halo, those are still really good online games. And the fact that they run servers for their games is also really good. If you look at PlayStation, a lot of their games are still peer-to-peer. I think Uncharted 4 is still peer-to-peer multiplayer. Like, I feel like they still have a little bit of an advantage there, but they're quickly losing that advantage. There's not enough reason to stick around for that, in my opinion, because it is closing the gap. So streaming is the new battle royale. But there's only one battle royale game that's any good. Apparently, it's Fortnite. Primitive Meat says with data caps and internet speeds being subpar for most, game streaming will end up being more of a niche market, in my opinion. Not only that, dude, but maybe I'm wrong. I know the novelty is there to a lot of the fanboys. I know a lot of people consider me a fanboy, but a lot of the fanboys are like, wow, man, this xCloud is legit. Wow, Stadia, it's awesome. The problem that I have with that is most of these people are probably, gamers in their 20s or 30s, and we work, and you know, you maybe have a family or whatever, or maybe you go to school too. But when are you going to find time to game on your phones? You know, and it's going to drain the batteries. Like, when are you going to be to where you can do that? I understand if you take trips and stuff like that, but again, doesn't play anywhere, got you covered already. You could bring a laptop or whatever. I just don't see that huge need. Somebody going to want to play The Witcher 3 on their phone. I don't really see that happening. So I don't know. GG Games were the first to run dedicated servers with Killzone 2 back in 2000. Well, they used Killzone 2 ran look servers where their server would pick the best host. I believe I remember seeing something like that. That might have been Killzone 3. But I know for a fact that they were only using look servers to find the best host. It was still like user hosted or whatever. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind as well. Like the same thing that Call of Duty was doing. I can remember when Call of Duty was like, yeah, we got servers this year. And then, you know, you would kind of look and they didn't. You know what I mean? So I do feel like that's one of those things where, you know, people can go, oh, well, you have servers, but you can say that. But if their server is only looking for the best host, then I feel like that's not a great thing. You know, like the actual servers are what's the most important thing. So in my opinion, like real servers. So yeah, let's see. Any more questions? Nope. Killzone 2 was dedicated servers, no user stuff. It was a selling point. I remember playing it, you know, a few times. Will I buy a PS5 next year? Hell yeah, I'm gonna buy a PS5 next year. I wonder how these other Rainbows and Sunshines YouTubers are gonna spin Xbox going third party. I can tell you right now, next doc, that there would just say it's great. Who cares about exclusives? Because Microsoft hasn't had exclusives in a while anyway. With the PC stuff, they're gonna be able to make more games, and you're still gonna be able to play them because Microsoft's still gonna make a box, right? Like that's still gonna be a thing. You know, they're going to be like, well, I can still play them on my box, but they don't realize like the long-term ramifications are less and less people are going to play Xbox natively, right? Less and less people are going to be playing those games natively. And I feel like that's going to be very evident. You're going to be forced to play PC crossplay or crossplay with other consoles or with mobile. And it's just not going to be a great even keel experience. Is one of the things I love about console gaming is the fact that everything realistically is close to each other. So the experience is almost the same. Now, if you're playing on a console versus someone playing on a phone, you got a huge advantage, and that's going to grow old very fast. If you're playing against someone on a PC and it's a shooter and they're using a keyboard and mouse and you're using a controller, that's going to get old very fast. So you're going to get uneven experiences and less native people using or less and less console fans using the Xbox console natively. And so I think that's going to get old kind of fast as well. So there is all that kind of stuff to consider, just in my opinion anyway. But I feel like that's the big problem for me. If you like multiplayer games, that's going to be a bit of an issue. No, dude, I get it, man. Killzone 2, that was a long time ago, man. Jay Slayer says, I wish they would have shown more xCloud. Well, it's hard to show that stuff, right? Like I saw a lot of people tweeting out photos and videos of themselves using it. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. So let me see here. I'm going to answer a few more questions. Xbox is getting all the best developer for games. Even Sony devs are going to Xbox because bigger check. Sony can't afford well, listen, there's rumors that Sony's about to buy a new studio or two, so we'll see how that works out. Which console do you think will win next gen, Xbox or PlayStation? PlayStation's going to win 100% in terms of console sales, but I think Microsoft is going to make a ton of money as well. So, Jay Slayer says, crap, why do you care about exclusives when you own all the systems? Because I own the system, so I feel like I should have specific reasons for each one. You know, with the Switch, obviously, all I do is play exclusives on there. With the PS4, I play exclusives on there as well. With Xbox, because it's the most powerful, I play the multiplats, but the exclusives are what really make it shine. And that's why I love playing exclusives. They really attract. The exclusives are games that usually take full advantage of a hardware, and they're different and unique. And I think that that's what I like best about them, right? Like there's stuff that you can't really play otherwhere, you know, because usually a third party game is being developed on multiple platforms. So there's nothing real special about it. They're not taking full advantage of it. Look at Rage 2, 1080p 60 on the X and the Pro. They're not taking full advantage of the X. Most studios aren't. First party developers take full advantage usually of the hardware, and that's what I like to see. So that's my opinion anyway. Eagle says, crap, I'm having a really tough decision. Where to go third party next gen? What are you doing? Feel burned by Microsoft not getting third party exclusive stuff. Man, it's hard saying because, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. It depends on if Microsoft comes out and impresses me with what they have to offer. I feel like that's, it really just depends. JD Gamer says, do you think Microsoft buying Japanese studios will help sell consoles in the US, UK, Japan, or all the above? Nope. I don't. I think that for the most part, it's kind of a niche thing here. And I think Xbox doesn't really exist in Japan. They sell like 2 consoles a year. So yeah, I think that it's not, it wouldn't really help them, but it would help like the people that are like, hey, Xbox needs this type of game. It fills that type of void. So I do think that that is something that we see, for sure. Let's see. I'll answer a few more questions if you guys don't mind. What do we got here? Xbox is the most powerful, so we can play Sea of Thieves? ? I agree. I would love to see something new. Please hit the like button, guys. I would appreciate it. Whoever asked about why do you care about exclusive is saying, why do you care about fresh air? You already breathe in some air in your lungs. Yeah, maybe it's 3 crap. I don't know. Thanks, man, for your insight. 100% Xbox third party leaning towards switching. Yeah, I think it depends, man. Like I have 100 and almost 60,000 gamer score. I'm only like level 13 or 14 trophies on PlayStation. My friends are on Xbox right now, so that's a big reason. Depends on what happens, but with more and more games being crossplay, I'm sure that we're going to continue to see, games kind of go back and forth there. I don't know, but I'll still prefer the Xbox ecosystem. Yeah, a lot of people show the cloud on their phones and stuff. Very ideal conditions, though. I guess they were only a couple 100 miles away or whatever from the data centers. My question is this, right? Like they have data centers, but like even like I live in Florida, so let's say I'm trying to use it and I have decent connection. I might be 500 miles away from one. And what happens if my friend wants to play with me, right? And the multiplayer is there, and is there lag there? Like there was still lag. And that's always going to be the problem, in my opinion. Let's see. Microsoft is a good company. They love our we'll have to see how it goes. Mojo Blue says, no crap. They sell 5 or 6 consoles a year in Japan. Don't downplay. Yeah, my bad, man. It's more than 2. Primitive Meat says, at the end of the day, we hardcore Xbox fans lost a piece of our souls this gen. Well, this gen, we took a beating because Microsoft realistically stopped producing games. They stopped producing AAA games for a certain amount of time, right? I don't know why. We can speculate and say it was somebody's fault or whatever, but until they actually come out and start, to me, until they actually announce a AAA game that's not Halo, Gears, or Forza, I'm of the I'm of the persuasion that it doesn't really that they aren't, you know what I mean? So basically what I'm saying is until they actually prove that they can make a AAA game that is actually not Halo, Gears, or Forza, and it's good quality and they market it and it's great and polished, I'm not going to believe it. You got to show me state, right? You got to show me that you can do it. That's what I'm hoping for, right? And until they can do that, I'm not sold on Xbox, even despite the fact that they have all these, all these different studios and stuff like that. I still feel like, to me, it almost seems like they're going to be making Game Pass fodder. They're making AA games, for Game Pass, and they're going to rely on Halo, Gears, and Forza, and probably Fable. And to me, that's what I believe is happening right now. So that's the big difference, in my opinion. So they've got to prove it. That's all I'm saying. What's more important for the next gen Xbox sales, price or launch games? launch games. If you don't have good launch games, I don't know what to say at this particular point, right? Like Microsoft's got to have some pretty good launch games. You can't. I feel like they've got to launch with. I know Halo is a big deal, but you're going to have to launch more with than just Halo and Forza, because I think most people will just feel like, hey, been there, done that, right? Like, and I get that, right? Like, hey, been there, done that. I just feel like that's one of those things that's happened already. 8K is cool and all, but we still have to wait for HDMI 2.1, which is what, yeah, I think we'll get that as well. I think the Xbox One X does that. Mojo Blue says, I'm still holding out hope they keep that premium box. I love my X, and Anaconda needs to be the most powerful. I hope so too, man. They're going to need it. What are my thoughts on Phil saying the business isn't how many consoles you sell? He's right. It's not. It's never been. But think about it this way. If you had a bunch of consoles sold, wouldn't you be selling a ton of software too? Right. So while technically he's right, he's kind of misleading you, because if you had 100 million consoles out there, you have an opportunity to sell your software to 100 million people or 100 million homes. Right. So he is kind of right, but he's also leaving stuff out. And I feel like that's kind of disingenuous of him, because obviously he's trying to downplay the fact that they're getting beat so bad this generation, by making you feel like, oh, well, we're making money and it's not about console sales. But at the same time, if he did have the console sales lead, they would probably be talking about it and hyping it up, and they'd have that opportunity to sell even more software. So I don't really, it's kind of disingenuous in my opinion. AP Cool J says buying both consoles is still cheaper than an iPhone and much more fun. You're right there. They should work out a deal with Tecmo to revive Ninja Gaiden. Here's the thing. Ninja Gaiden, I think, is a cool series, but the original guy left that developer, and the last Ninja Gaiden game was bad. Ninja Gaiden 3 was terrible. So you really want a Ninja Gaiden 4 from that team when the last one was terrible? I don't know. Maybe they need something else. Next Doc says, do you like how Phil says we want gamers to play where they want on what they want? Okay, Phil, I want to play Gears Tactics on my One X with controller. I get you, man. Like, where was Gears Tactics, right? Cheddar Bob says, if you played Forza Horizon 4 Lego crap, it's great. Did it come out today? I'll have to download it if it came out. I definitely will, because that looks fun as hell. Look, console sales matter point blank. You can make $5 billion in profits if your console sells well and the costs are below price, aka PS4 Pro. Dude, my point exactly. So Phil going, it's not about console sales. That's not how we make money. We make money by selling software. Well, buddy, pal, Philio, man, Phil, bro, Phil, if you had 100 million consoles sold like Sony, then you had a chance to sell way more software, right? Instead of putting your feelers out and hopes and dreams out that somebody buys your games on Windows and streams it on a phone, right? You would have a sure thing. Yeah, I appreciate that's me. See, Crapgamer keeping it real. I try to, man. Look, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. I try to do my own thing. I got some big plans once I move. Like I said, I'm going to be doing, some stuff in front of the camera as well. That should be fun. I can't wait to see some of the hate from that on there from people. But hey, no shame, no in my game, so it's going to be fun. Yeah, Filarino. He's like, yeah, well, we don't make money from this. Okay, you don't make money from that, but if you had 100 million consoles sold, you could potentially sell 100 million pieces of software to someone, right? Like, that's kind of the disingenuous part, in my opinion. So I'm going to take a couple more questions and then wrap it up and go, because I still got Crossfire to do today, and 4 hours of podcasting is a lot. LG Nemesis says, I have $1,080 saved up for a PS5 and Scarlett. I still have to buy a new screen. If I'm better off buying a new PC. Oh, yeah, dude, I'm with you, man. I don't like PC gaming at all. Old School says, we're in a situation with the PS4 and Switch having been completely broken by hackers. The industry is trying to figure out a way around pirates. Yeah, I get it. Obi-Wan says, I don't get you, crap. What are you talking about exactly, Obi-Wan? Because I'm being kind of realistic here. I'm not bashing Xbox at all. I'm saying I hope they do extremely well. Benny Howard says, crap, have you ever owned PS1 and PS2? And what happened after that? Okay, so growing up, I had my first console was an NES. I was more of a Genesis guy because they really appealed to me. Like, I had an older brother who was a couple years older than me, and that Genesis does, like that kind of stuff. And they had the sports talk football and all that kind of stuff, and Sonic the Hedgehog, and it was super fast and blast processing. So I had a Sega Genesis. Then I eventually got a Super Nintendo as well. I did have a PlayStation 1, and I used to love like the 989 football and stuff like that, and Tomb Raider and Crash, and those were great. I got an N64. I thought that was great. The Dreamcast came out, and I got that, and I love that console. It was just so amazing, man. It's still one of my favorite consoles. I still have it. Just such a fun console, right? The PlayStation 2 came out. I was late to the party on that because I had an Xbox, and once I started playing Xbox Live, like it was a wrap, because I used to play online with my Dreamcast as well, but I was just playing with Xbox Live, and it was just like this new thing, and they didn't allow people on dial-up to play with you, which PlayStation did, and I would lag against people with dial-up, and it just was this whole thing. So I like, and I still have my PlayStation 1 and 2 and my collection of games. Like I still have all that stuff, guys. So, and I like it. And then PlayStation 3, I just felt so ripped off with that. And I got hundreds of PlayStation 3 games still, and PlayStation 2 games, I think I got 75 or 100 or something like that. And the original Xbox games, I got a bunch of crap. But, it's just one of those things that I like having fun with games. And I hope that, I could continue to do that in this form. So, the real White Ski says, at the end of the day, it's actually mind-boggling how Sony just keeps it simple and has sold an amazing console and amazing games. Yeah, keeping it simple is what it comes down to. Genesis does what Nintendo. Do you think the PS4 and PS4 Pro will be supported next gen with the PS4 exclusives? Because I'm planning on getting one or the other on Black Friday. Listen, the PS4 is going to get supported for at least a few more years, they've said. So you're good there, man. And it's worth it to pick one up for, $150, $199 just to play stuff like God of War. To me, playing God of War, Detroit, Uncharted, Until Dawn, Ratchet and Clank, playing these games, maybe Bloodborne, that's not my cup of tea, but I hear it's great. It's worth it. It's worth it. Maybe next gen the Scarlett will be successful. Maybe. Do I think Xbox will announce new studios at XO19? I think they're kind of locked into that now, right? I think that it would be looked at as a disappointment if they didn't. So 2 more questions and then I'm out. 2 more. Next Doc Dude says, what's with these one-sided deals with Nintendo and PlayStation? Why not try to bring Major League Baseball to show to Xbox in return for these Xbox Studio multiplats? I would love Microsoft to do something something amazing with their own studios, maybe put out a sports game of their own. Like, why not, right? Why not? So let's stop sitting around chatting and making up theories about new consoles and just enjoy the console you have and relax. Well, you're not wrong. I'm just saying, as I do content, and so as a gamer, I can only speak from my heart and say, hey, I really feel a little bit let down by Microsoft this generation. Hopefully they can come out swinging with some incredible titles soon, and I would love that. So hopefully that's what we get, and I'm very excited by that prospect. So what is your thoughts on E3 attendance being down by only 3,000? Not bad for a dead event. I think I think E3 will be big next year too. I think Sony's going to show up and show Microsoft what it's all about. They're going to make Microsoft wish that they had shown their stuff this year instead of next year, because nobody's going to be talking about Fable and whatever Microsoft shows next year when Sony shows off Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and, God of War 2 and Spider-Man 2, right? Like, it's just nobody's going to care about the Microsoft stuff, right? It's going to be totally forgotten about. I'm not saying I will feel that way, but the media and the consensus will be that. Who shot first, Hand or Greedo? I always looked at Greedo shot first. Reason being is because if Hand shot first, that makes him a killer, doesn't it? So yeah, Sony back the next year is going to. I agree 100%. Please hit that like button, guys. Get me over 150. I know I was hoping for Fable. Do I think Resident Evil 3 remake will come for next gen? I think it'll come this gen. I think they'll announce it next year. So, all right, I answered a ton of questions. You guys are amazing. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff. Crossfire tonight at 7 Eastern on Mooch's channel, and we'll catch you next time. As always, thank you so much. I'm humbled by the support. Rack 'em up. CG out.